Welcome to the Dr. Sam Mugzzi Show. We are advancing the paradigm shift with attitude. Special guests, new realities, quantum physics, health, psychic readings, and so much more. We are glad you have joined us. Sit back and take a ride on the Higher Consciousness Freeway. Seatbelts are optional.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ms. Mugzzi Show. Tonight's guest is really special. I hope you love him as much as I do. He's original. He's out of the box. He really grasps what's going on, but also has that balance that is so necessary with a positive outlook and a positive story. So this is Julien Wells, and I want to welcome him to the show. Welcome, Julien.
Well, thank you for having me on. Am I really all those things you just mentioned?
And 10% more, but they're going to have to listen to find out.
I suppose.
I have really been getting some bizarre, out-of-the-box thinking myself this week, and I thought, what an opportunity to run it past you and get your spin on it, or to see where you are. But before I go there, can you please tell everybody in a nutshell who your contacts are, who you talk to, where you get your information, and a little bit about you?
Well, a little bit about me. I guess I'm kind of new to the psychic forum. I don't really consider myself any more psychic than anyone else. I just literally took steps and found ways to hear my inner voice and hear my higher being and connect to basically telepathic people that could speak with me. And a little over a year now, about a year and a half, I reached out to wonder if ETs were real. And I got an answer. I actually got a response from some Pleiadians that are in our solar system. And I've been in conversation with them since then, not necessarily sharing as much publicly, but I've done lots of talks with them, with groups of people, and aren't representative of all Pleiadians. They're a very specific group that have come here to observe Earth and the change, and they actually share a lot of their data with other groups that are here in the solar system doing the same thing. And although they are looking for first contact, that's actually not the priority of the day. The priority of the day is actually to learn from us and actually to observe humans and what they're doing going through the shift here. So, I mean, there's lots of things that they bring to the table when it comes to great topics of conversation. But in general, it's really transformed my life over the past year and a half, I have to say.
I bet. Yeah, I've been there. One of the things that really caught my attention was, you see so much negativity. And I sit in my chair and I go, wait a minute, that's not right, that's not right. And then here you come along and you have a total different way of looking at things with a positive spin, especially about the dark being taken off the planet. So can you tell us a little bit about this? Because it's my favorite story.
Oh, to talk about the partner in contrast? Well, like anything that you want to understand, you have to put your mind into the space of that experience that you're not observing firsthand. It's like, if you're fighting with your wife, the way to get through that is to try to understand the way she's thinking. But that is really the mechanism for empathy. And empathy doesn't happen necessarily automatically for everyone. So a lot of people who have their empathy open and their trust centers open to everything, and there's many people who don't know how to exercise empathy because as a child they may have actually been told that their empathy was incorrect, that their guidance center was incorrect. So lots of people are raised not knowing how to practice empathy for things that are so different from themselves. Obviously, it's easy to have empathy with things that are similar to you, but things that aren't becomes sort of challenging to even reflect or even share a point of view. So when we talk about people who are very much not like us, I'll just say they seem to be very much not like us, it's sort of a challenge to even begin to consider having a conversation with one on the subjects that bother you so much. And so the first stage of developing empathy and understanding really came from trying to understand that we're all God's creation, that we're all here for a purpose, and to understand that no one is really, out to ruin someone else's life in such a way that the life is the most precious thing. Our lives are actually, on one level, the most precious thing, and on another level, they're not. They're just an experience, and we get to have as many as we want. It's like a video game with multiple lives. You don't, freak out if you die in Super Mario Brothers. You got more to play, you've got more experiences, and that experience happened. It isn't forgotten, so that maybe you got to jump over that pit next time you come across. That's the modality of karma that sticks around even between lifetimes. So really what you're looking for is that place where you can sort of dissociate taking things so intensely, like the pain of the idea of talking with a murderer perhaps, and, give yourself that space to just say, hey, it's an experience. I'm not endangering myself by talking with an axe murderer. Know that he is as much a human as you are. He just has a completely different set of experiences that bring him to be the person that he is now. He is no less relevant an individual. He is no less relevant for a soul that's having an experience. Now you could say, well, some souls are just rotten souls, there's really rotten people. I like to say, I think you're experiencing rotten souls because you know how much, at a higher level for yourself, they have benefits to enliven your experience for your soul. On the human side, you could say, wow, Christ, life can really suck. With all these, terrible people running around amok doing things and manipulating us and, and treating us like, cattle and things like this. But on many levels higher than our conscious awareness usually allows us to see, there are big things going on. There's lots and lots of things that when you have a lot of energy, and there's a lot of energy because the emotions will be high. When there's a lot of energy, you know that very experiential things are happening, all over the place. You know how, we're connected to each other on the other side of the planet. One person's argument can affect someone on the other side of the planet. Just like, a war on one country affects, multiple countries. It really, we're all connected in that way. So on one level, you could say every bit of drama we go through it as a whole. Because even if we don't consciously see it, it has a ripple effect. Everything has a rippling effect. So we're kind of like a pond, and every dramatic experience going on is like the rain landing on the water. Now, if you want to follow the chaos theory, you can try to predict where all the ripples and all the droplets will end up, but there's no point in that. There's no point in trying to measure what each little droplet does, what each point of drama does. You just know that, when enough droplets hit the pond's water level rises. And that's all you need to know. And that's basically what we're facing in this environment now. We're facing lots of experiences that are increasing the size of the pond in experience. And with experience, and the value of experience is that you can reflect from a wiser point of view, that you can reflect and see more of the picture. You can reflect and have broader, more intelligent decisions. So experiences lead to that. And although the human conscious side of it, misses a lot of what's going on between the lines, part of this shift in ages are people that really want to know and really want to feel and understand more. And so what's happening is they're connecting more and more with the broader part of themselves, their higher being, their soul, whatever, connecting more and more, feeling more and more resonant in order to attract the wisdom of your higher being in your conscious body. you basically will begin to embody characteristics of it. And, of course, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're not embodying characteristics of what it's not. And yet we know so little about our higher beings. So we go through the journey of trying to understand who we are from the broader place. Those sorts of journeys are basically the types of rabbit holes I've been down. And it's brought me to wonderful places of understanding the balance of things and making it easy for me to observe the balance in things in everyday moments of life. Anyhow, I can ramble like this all day, you know.
Wait, stop. I wanted to add to something because I have premonitions prior to my radio shows, and I have some stuff that I've been shown that I can add. One is that what they showed me yesterday was that imagine that we're all sitting on a cloud together in space, and we're just reviewing everything. We all have the same consciousness. We're all tapped into what each other thinks, and we have that super knowledge, intelligent brain, and we all tap into it, so we're all the same. So when you come down here, and for one person to say, I'm better than you because I have this degree, or I'm better than you because I have this amount of money, is so ludicrous because we all have the same conscious mind. We just chose to experience or express ourselves in one vein of an opportunity on this planet. And but, I mean, your analogy of the axe murderer, because of what they're sharing or what they're experiencing, I don't think I would be wanting to have lunch with them or talk to them any day soon, because even though I appreciate what they're experiencing from a developed soul point of view, but on the other hand, I also know that they're untrustworthy because of the role that they're playing, so I tend to protect myself.
Sure.
Okay.
And protection is a part of the lives that we live that's grounded. Now, I'm not going to say that you should go down and have lunch with an axe murderer. Obviously, this is not in alignment with many people. And I'm not even saying that you should get into alignment with that. All I'm saying is that everyone has a place. Everyone is standing 2 feet on the ground somewhere on the earth right now, and we don't begrudge the fact that someone is standing somewhere we'd rather be, and that, you know, or someone's standing somewhere that we don't want them to stand. You say, I'm just standing here. That's really as basic as and as true as it is. No more than, you know, you're a woman and I'm a man, and, you know, someone's white or someone's black. It's like there's no point in actually creating any contrasting issues with the fact that we're different, that we're just in different places, and that we're having a unique experience on our own. In fact, it would be really boring if we all had the same experience. But we're all adding to the collective consciousness on the planet. We're all hold one piece of the jigsaw puzzle, so to speak. And because we do, we get a whole picture. And that whole picture, when people take the time to look at the whole picture, they start to see the beauty in the balance of everything. You get to see the purpose behind God's intention for exploring himself through all his different microcosmic understandings of himself. You know, we're like the finger of God, and yet we're all of God at the same time, only the finger kind of takes orders from the brain, it looks like. There's a place where the finger develops its own autonomy in knowing that it is just as integral as every other part. It doesn't mean the finger stops becoming a finger. I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to be a male. I'm still going to live in North America. I'm not about to say I'm going to be, you know, changing my race and color and you know, living somewhere else all of a sudden. I just don't immediately translate and resonate so quickly to shift. So I accept what everyone is choosing to be, and I can find out pretty quickly the purpose for what a lot of people are and what they're doing. Not everything that they're doing. Most of it is actually exploration while I'm discovering that resonance. You just ask the question. You ask yourself the question, and you ask the question within you, and you find the answers come through. They may not come through in ways you understand. In fact, probably not at all. Because I think a lot of people's issues with feeling that they can't get to the information that's within is they've hidden away those possibilities. As children, that knowledge was not so difficult to reach. But, there's lots of things now that make it seem perceptibly difficult to access your wisdom. And really, everyone can do that. Everyone can access their wisdom. There's not a single person that would come here that couldn't, and that's basically what I'm willing to be around and demonstrate.
I just want to add something. Your analogy about the hand was brilliant because it actually it can put a tangible, something concrete in front of us that we can understand as far as timelines. Because if each person is a finger on a hand, and so imagine you got 7 billion fingers on a hand, we're all tied to the same arm, to the same body, which it would be the Christ consciousness, right? Yeah. But the other thing is that if somebody, because we all know people that like to hammer their own thumbs and experience the pain, it doesn't affect the other fingers. It only affects, really, that thumb that individual decided to hammer. And that's brilliant. I love that. Well, thank you.
I guess that's just the way that it came to me early on in my developing experience. You're a finger of God. Yeah, and I was like, well, how is that possible? That doesn't make any sense when I first heard it. But it became really abundant that you have all the rights and privileges of the rest of the body, of all the other fingers. And yeah, occasionally you get one finger that gets busted. And, through the opportunity of having the rest of your 9 fingers, you can manage. And you can help that finger recover, should you want it to. But we're, talking about broader oneness versus individual conscious self is one of the greater challenges I think a lot of people face in this time when they want to know where they fit in. They want to know, am I an index finger? Am I a pinky finger? Am I a thumb? What am I doing here? I feel and act differently than people around me, but it's supposed to be all correct. Am I doing God's bidding? Is there a bidding that God actually has? Is God even care that I'm here? Things like this. And when you get to a place where you know yourself to a certain extent, there's a fundamental level of peace that comes across you. And you became very unshakable on so many things. And then the things that do shake you, you get excited, almost excited, to experience something where you get to unleash more of your empowerment by letting go of another limitation. Like every limitation that comes across, for me, it's like an obstacle in a video game. I don't play the video game to not have obstacles to overcome. I'm playing the video game because, wow, I made it. I got over this. And now I feel prouder of myself with my ability to not be hampered by an obstacle. That's just the ego side. But in a broader sense, we are seeking to engage in experiences that make us wiser, and these experiences get collected in the database of your soul. They get processed when you go to sleep, and they expand the mass, the density of your soul being, and so you grow. Some people might say, well, you're really just returning the source more and more, the whole that is the source, depending on how you want to look at it.
The next thing that I have on my list is manifestation. And I'm really big into empowering people to get them to believe and know that they can manifest what they want. And that corresponds with what you just said, because if you don't believe in yourself, you don't have the power behind yourself and your it's your imagination that allows you to create the world that you want, but it's that believing and that love frequency that really puts that oomph into your manifestation.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say, what could you add or delete that, from your point of view, that would be able to help people with this technique?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey with my imagination. I was, an artsy kid in school and all this, and I always had creative solutions. I liked math and I liked art, both together. But I was basically told that I was a dreamer and I daydreamed too much and I was kind of lazy by other people's standards. But it came to a place where I wanted to try to understand some experiences that I had had that really sort of blew me away. Even though it didn't involve any sort of psychedelics or whatever, I had them anyways. And I wanted to understand them, and I basically said I dismissed them. That's just my imagination. But boy, was it a heck of an imagination that really, I almost couldn't believe that my imagination had convinced me of something happening that was considered relatively paranormal. So I wanted to understand that more, and through my life path, I came to a place where, so that's it. Imagination is actually your connection to your higher self. Only this whole time I was giving it not very much importance. I was basically told my imagination was good for a couple things. But when I actually took a look at that voice and that space where thoughts come out of seemingly nowhere, that nowhere is not nowhere. That nowhere is the part of you from beyond your physical side. Now, you could say, your imagination is a product of your subconscious and experiences you've seen. There's no original thought in the world. There's just regurgitation. Well, I'm going to say there's going to be one of those experiences where you have no idea where that came from. You have no idea how that ever possibly existed. In fact, it throws you for a loop because you just bent reality by what you imagine coming true. So you can understand that your imagination space is actually a connection to yourself. Then you get you to the next point, which is, well, now what do I do? My imagination seems to deceive me all the time. I imagine things and they don't come true, or they aren't true. Like I imagine, my girlfriend cheating on me, and it's not true. You say, my silly imagination. You're not actually correct, but that's just it. Imagination is a invitation space. It's not solid until you feel it with your five senses, of course. But that's the aspect of time. Time is there as a buffer so that you can play with your imagination and mold it into a physical experience if you want to, or you could just say, imagination, give me something in this environment, and then your higher being attracts it. But really, attraction is being a balance to that which you want to see. You want Mets tickets? Start thinking about Mets tickets. Don't think about whether you can get them or not. Just keep imagining Mets tickets and imagine what Mets tickets do for you. And as your emotional highs will rise, that energy is the sign that you're moving through time towards the attraction of your intent. Emotions are they're not really much more than a compass. They point and they tell you how you're doing. If it feels negative, you're in the opposite direction of getting what you really want. If it's positive, well then you're following the true north compass needle. That's basically it. There's many different, as you know, there's many different angles on the compass. And the kind of compass I'm talking about is even three-dimensional. There's up and down, not, forget just north, east, west, south, west. It's very peculiar. But when you know to listen to your emotional spectrum, that's how you know you're moving in the right direction. Now, granted, we have a lot of things called beliefs. These are basically like fixed concepts that we don't assume are ever going to change because we've decided that they're not going to change. Like we decided there's going to be gravity. We're not just going to float off into the sky one day like a balloon. You know, we decided that walls can't be walked through, and we decided that, you know, when you speak in English, the words mean this. If you speak in French, the words mean this. So we've come up with a lot of sort of like aspects to what we agree to amongst all of us. We all agree, you know, that the word I means I, and that, you know, the word toe means toe. But, you know, it's still quite relative. In another language, I can mean something else to someone else, and toe can mean actually a whole other word. And the relativity is still available, but when you look at this place where you have these beliefs, it's almost like I don't have any right to change the status quo here, you know. I want to know how to fly, but I don't feel like I have the right to just start flying because, you know, everyone since birth has believed that, you know, gravity keeps us on the ground. And so we get into this place where we assume that beliefs have no reason to be challenged. Now, that comes into effect with just about any sort of like manifestation type of thing that we come up with. We come up with reasons why it isn't that way already, because if we didn't, then it would be fully available. You know, like I can tell you why there's not $1 million in cash in my pocket. It can be because I haven't really sought it, or it could be that my wallet wouldn't fit $100 or $1 million worth of cash in there, and that's why I don't have it. It doesn't matter. But you'll understand that you face previously conceived concepts. And so really attraction sometimes is about, you know, breaking down a concept that acts as a barrier. And some people don't even want to do that. They just, you know, it gets too complicated. They say, I don't want to try to figure out how to change something. I'm just going to have faith. Well, you know what? Admittedly, if you have faith, you have it a lot easier. Because with faith, you're basically saying, I don't know how to knock down this wall, but, you know, I believe that walls can come down. I do believe they can come down. And if you have at least that, then you got a much more open reality to attracting and manifesting as you wish. But some people are very critical. Some people, you know, like the mouse and in the maze seeking the cheese, you know, they don't understand that they can go over the walls, or that they can eat through the walls. They just assume that the maze is constructed in a certain way, and then, you know, when they get to a dead end, they give up, like they can't go backwards, like they can't start over from another perspective. If you're still alive, you always have options. You always have a place to go when seeking something. And other things get complicated when you look at something and say, I want this girl to fall in love with me, but then there's so many reasons why you wouldn't ever make her do that against her own will. You want her to be in love with you, but then you just don't see it. And so you have these elements where you have a lot of positive emotional reasons, but then you have negative beliefs mixed in there. Kind of like a pizza where you got anchovies and you don't want the anchovies, but you want everything else. And so in those cases, you can have faith that the anchovies will just fall off the pizza before you bite it, or maybe that's not going to work for you, and maybe you can take a look at what it takes to decontaminate your pizza from the anchovies. And that is looking at your beliefs. Now, looking at your beliefs is a whole other story, right? Because beliefs are essentially there supposedly for good reason. Supposedly. But no one's really willing to take a smack at messing with people's beliefs, right? We don't want to go around saying, hey, stop believing this. It's not really that true. We really have no right to do that to each other. But we do have the right to do it to ourselves. Now, granted, in a lot of cases, people say you don't even have the right to do that to yourself because we're going to lock you up in a loony bin because you're not conforming to a standard level of understanding on these things. You're really not going to be able to function in the world if you don't hold these beliefs in place. And so that's really what this whole matrix grid reality, Illuminati control scheme, hidden agenda thing is all about, is to get you to agree to beliefs that will incarcerate you if you don't follow the rules. Many people are in that position. They say, well, I believe in flying, but, I don't know why I can't manage. Well, you take a look at basically what you're facing, and you're looking at a reality where you don't believe it because everything that has done flying in the past has been a work of fiction. You look at Superman and say a work of fiction. Hold on, just one moment here. I'm going to mute you for just a sec.
Okay, because I want to bring in a question about the in the chat room.
Okay,
there's a couple of things that I really want you to address.
Okay.
I know you're giving the big picture, but I have about 8 questions, and we only have about 20 minutes left. Can we go?
Yep.
Okay. Earthquakes, lots of them right now. Some of them man-made, some are not. What are your thoughts on that?
Gaia is a person, and Gaia has cramps and burps and hiccups and all these things just like every other person. It's conscious even though most people don't know how to talk with her, but you can talk with her. You can ask these questions. And, yeah, she gets stressed. She is part of our reality, and we're part of hers. And just like a conscious being, we all affect each other. And so as she goes through emotional states, so are we. She's affected by the energies of astrology like we are. And so, she goes through her own issues. Mostly, when you look at the unnatural ones, she's invited them. Just like any one of us invites our reality, she's invited that to her. What's the next question?
Okay. The dark cabal, Illuminati, Bilderbergs, some of their evil stuff is kind of a facade just to keep people away. And I'm wondering, is the reptilian information also the same thing, like a deterrent just to keep the people away from them so we feel really afraid? Or what do you think?
Let me give you just a final word on perspective, cabal and reptilian and hierarchies and royalties, whatever all that is. It's all the same thing. They feel that they know better, and it's up to you to prove them wrong. So if you know better, then act better. Much like if you want to move out of your parents' home, grow up. Prove that you can manage living out in the world on your own. And that's basically what they're doing, is they're holding a place for you to grow up. And they won't let you out until you've basically shown yourself that you can do it. Now, it doesn't mean that, they're picking on individuals. They're picking on, a broad swath. So they're not really meaning it to be personal. And so, do it. Prove to yourself that you have the responsibility to handle your reality the way you want it to be. And they won't get in the way of someone who's passionate. That's the truth. And if someone's passionate about kicking them in the shins and saying you're a bad guy, well, yeah, they're going to stop you. Okay? What's the next question?
But it seems like the ones, I've experienced this myself, pulling away from systems and creating my own healthy, spiritual, loving systems around me, I've avoided a lot of pain and conflict that other people are experiencing.
Yeah, do your thing. Honestly, if you want that old world to go away, you got to do your thing. That's where you're empowered. Some people are empowered in fighting, but most people aren't. Most people aren't empowered in resisting and going after the throat. So there are people who are warriors. Bless them for for being in balance as they take on those roles. But there are many that, you just choose your reality and be responsible. And in the movie Spider-Man, they say with great power comes great responsibility. That's really what it's all about. If you want the power over your life, prove that you're responsible to take care of it. Own everything that goes on, which is to say, know that you attract everything. Take responsibility for knowing that everything that comes to you is a product of yourself. And if you want to take these levels of responsibility further, then you'll want to get to know why you attract them in the first place. And that gets into journeys of understanding the purpose of karma, your higher being's alignment towards things, and things like your own destiny and what you've chosen for yourself in this lifetime.
Okay, next one. Relationships, soulmate relationships. People have been pushed and prodded by loved ones to reflect on ourselves for growth. And now is a time where we're stepping into our higher selves, spiritual selves, so to speak, into our true selves. And with that, we're going to become more magnetic for the twin flame or the split apart of your other half. Is that true?
It is. I can talk a little bit about soulmates and twin flames. Obviously, it's a very rich subject, so this is going to sound really rudimentary. Soulmates and soul family are people that participate with you usually in multiple lifetimes. They come up with agreements. Your higher being, your souls or whatever, they come up with deals. They say, you're going to push me this way, I'm going to push you that way. In the pushing, you're going to wake up to certain knowledge and experiences, and it's a tit for tat sort of thing. Or maybe I've spent 3 lifetimes being your mentor, and now it comes around. You're basically always best friends. There's no limits between you from a broader perspective. And so even though you challenge yourself, you say, oh, you're my soulmate, but why are you so challenging? Well, because that's what they came for, okay? It's part of the deal. Soulmates doesn't mean that you don't have a tough time. Soulmates, what you're really looking for is to experience love. And when you're close enough with someone, love is that sort of like, I'll hold your hand while we go through a little bit of pain together because, I'm with you here, and I'm going to support you, even though I'm going to tell you what for. And the twin flame is, I've come recently to understand it in a whole other light. It's not like it is a little bit like a soulmate, but it's actually more like a perfect reflection of yourself. You know how we get together in relationships with people who don't like about half the things we do or half the way we talk about things, but the other half is really great, so, it seems great that we have so much in common. Well, this is basically everything is in common. This is literally when you come to that place where you want to take your reality to the next level and you respect yourself to a very, very, very high degree, well, then you'll find a copy of yourself, like a doppelganger, that will be the opposite male-female polarity and will really show up practically out of nowhere, because these things wait around for you till you're ready to actually take responsibility for your respecting yourself. So it's another one of those things that with great power comes great responsibility. That responsibility is essentially that place where you can no longer harm anyone and you can't be harmed. Because when you get a copy of yourself, you're just a rocket ship. You'll just, you'll take your manifestation abilities, 12 times stronger, because now you've got your number one cheerleader of yourself standing right in front of you, giving you your own high five. And basically, the twin flames are like. And obviously, the romantic connection is easy to see. But honestly, the fairy tale story doesn't even end there. But, well, doesn't necessarily begin there either. Twin flames still have their own literal flaws that make them, still stick out in society in weird ways. They aren't, some kind of perfect being or anything. The prerequisite is respecting yourself to that high degree where you know that you're at that center of your reality and that you can allow miracles to occur. And so doesn't mean that, your twin flame comes with precisely what leftover karma you also have. You just do it at the same time. The funny thing is, I quite believe that you actually have no karma with your twin flame. And that's a really good sign that you have your twin flame. You can't even fight about stuff because it just becomes absurd, like just yelling at a mirror. Literally, just yelling at a mirror. You're like, oh, God. Because you take responsibility for it all. Okay? That's what I see. Anyhow, what was next?
Okay. I get that. And we're going to have to let that sink in a little bit because there's a lot of things that we have to still change, own, take responsibility, release. Anyway, okay, I want to ask this. Number one is I've seen pictures and stuff that the UN is setting up tanks in the U.S. or America. And in your opinion, will they be allowed to try their little Luciferian thing, or is this going to disseminate? Is that disinfo? And would the benevolent ETs help us out in the event that we really wanted to rid the planet of some of this dark stuff?
Okay, so it's a two-part question. One is the UN going to allow the tanks to be here and all that stuff? You know what? I'm going to say they're allowed. But they're only allowed as much as you allow them in your reality. Now, that might mean, oh, crap, I got to go out there and start pushing tanks back. No. Just like you attract in a magical way your reality through the power of attraction, that isn't so much about attraction so much as you jumping a timeline where that becomes real. So everyone is an individual universe unto themselves. I know that's a bit broad, but reality is individual. Your reality is yours. Now, our realities overlap, no doubt, but in the scheme of things, nothing happens until the fat lady sings, and that's you having an experience. So if you decide through looking to the future and seeing that experience you can already get through it and you don't need it anymore, well, then you don't have to have it. And you don't have to have it anyhow. You can literally say the greenest grass on the other side, or I choose a fruit cup over the pudding at the buffet. You have these choices. Maybe it just means perhaps for your audience that they find a way to understand that they have all the choices available to them, that they are God, and God doesn't care whether the tanks show up or not. The tanks and the extreme drama are there to slap you upside the head and they say, you got to move out, you got to figure this out on your own and how to manifest your reality. That's just one part of it. Now, the UN, let's talk about it from my perspective, my reality. What do I see? I don't see it. And if you're talking with me, at some point where they show up, you're probably not talking with me. Okay? Now, the other part of it with ETs coming in to help out, they're doing a lot of helping out. That I know. But what they're not doing is they're not doing anything besides stopping the nukes. Nukes are the only things that they have the authority to outright end. But no, they're not going to stop anyone from shooting each other. That's a personal relationship, soul contract agreement. And don't be afraid if someone points a gun at you, because you know what? You can rewrite your soul contracts. Some people think, oh, a soul contract, that's more than written in stone. Actually, it isn't. When you know your authority as the chooser of your experience, which is like the child saying, no, just give me the keys. I'm going to drive the car because I believe I can. Maybe it doesn't look like they can, but you can. If the child is able to get to that point, Just like the being is able to get to that point where they say, no, I don't want this experience. I'm going to change it and rewrite it. Miracles occur always on those levels. But you know that life is a little bit more plastic than you thought it was. Plenty of experiences. If you see that, then you know you're getting close. The matrix reality is falling apart for you. Anyhow.
Nice.
ETs are not going to land.
Okay.
ETs are not going to land until we invite them, and we're not going to invite them until the invitation's official and actually feels good. They're not going to show up to piss off half the planet that I'm showing up and make the other one happy. That's taking sides, and they're not going to do that. If there's anything involving taking sides, they don't show up. We don't want them to come here and get slaughtered as just, one side of the story that doesn't fit in. So the invitation's got to be genuine. It's got to be global. It means we all have to be on the same page about it. And we're not yet on the same page. But there are many, many groups that are very close. They have this proximity thing that I can see, and it gives me like an image of how close they are to the planet. That's literally like their reality superimposed coming close. They can't show up without our say-so. They really can't. Now, have they in the past? Yep. And they picked up the levels of karma that echo through their realities and their societies and their civilizations' realities. Now, that's just like, why don't you just go nuke someone else's planet? That's how radical it can be. Because it affects their energy that they bring back with them, ripples and transforms speed of light in clearly many, many, many ways. Now, is there really karma even? No, there isn't really karma when you get to a certain point. But there is a point where, at a conscious level, it is not in their heart alignment to be here yet. So that's why.
Okay. We only have about 10 minutes left, but this is something I was shown a couple of days ago, and I'd like to have your comment on it. Nobody else is talking about it. Mandalas are actually two-dimensional imprints of Merkabas, and each Merkaba is different and has a frequency. And if you take a mandala and make it a fifth-dimensional product and spin it, it becomes a Merkaba, which then creates the portal to your higher self, and that is your own personal tunnel that you communicate with your higher self. Okay.
Well, there's Merkabas for different points along your body, actually. Your chakras are Merkabas. Okay? They all have a different actual alignment and resonant pattern. Every cell of DNA in your body that is an individual cell has its own invitation of energy and portal of energy coming manifest from seemingly nowhere, from the quantum field. And yes, Merkabas can do that. But do Merkabas act in a very physical way, like if you were to create a Merkaba that you can enter into your body, or like walk into, does that mean you've got a teleporter? Yeah, it sort of does. But on another level, it's a multi-dimensional thing. You just can't make a Merkaba out of steel and then expect to make a teleporter. There is the prismatic nature of Merkabas, which means that the chemistry runs deep in how do you call it? The geometric angles and the geometric patterns literally hold things together like numbers, like a series of numbers. So it's actually like an equation. And within Merkabas, you can create Merkabas that basically, within a Merkaba, is its own reality. Within a Merkaba, you can create a portal to another place that's really not another place, but it's just an opening to an environment that is in resonance with that Merkaba. Now, when we talk about our higher beings, yes, a lot of the Merkabas we're looking at are the Merkabas of our whole selves. I think some people are looking at that. And when you envision that, you, at least from the third eye sphere and perhaps the crown sphere, if you're really comfortable, you can invite energies of your broader self through those gateways, and you can reflect on those. If you want to do it at the denser levels, then really what you want to do is include a Merkaba that includes the patterns of, all 7 of your chakras in concert. And then you can take your body somewhere, because now you're reflecting in all levels of your physical form and energy and encompassing that within the transport system. So there are a couple of Merkabas that include all the other measurements in one, but in reality it's not as simple as it would seem, but you can access yourself through that way if you do visualization. The spinning, the purpose of the spinning is to denote the progression of time, the relativity aspect. Time is about relativity, here then there, this then that, was, now, future, and so on. So that's what the spinning does. And you can't even, you can spin it the wrong way, which is the opposite of creation, which is instead of making progress and making more, you're actually rewinding progress.
That's clockwise. Anyway. Clockwise is the opposite of creation. But what I was just getting, and maybe you can elaborate on this in 6 minutes, the Merkaba it would be like our own personal spaceship. And the keys to the console is our energy frequency. Only we can drive our own personal spaceships.
That's true.
As a light body energy.
You are your own personal spaceship. You already are. You already are journeying through the cosmos. Even though it looks like you're putting one foot in front of the other, it's more like the world is moving towards you underneath your feet. Okay? As you attract the experience of your belief that I'm walking across the planet, in reality, the planet's coming to you. That's the illusion. You are already traveling in such a way. But if you want to do things like flash teleportation, you've got some programs that you weren't allowing into your Merkaba of that belief, which is to say the complete nature of all of yourself. Now, if you want to get into the scientific side, there may be scientific applications, but I'm not exactly sure where this is headed exactly.
Well, it just dawned on me as you're talking that the Merkaba would be a portal, but it's also a movement system for us. That's how we're teleporting. That's how we can do, because I can do, what do they call it, remote viewing, and I could never figure out how. And that's how I'm doing it.
Yes. A part of your consciousness is able to reflect and superimpose itself on another place. This actually occurs naturally all the time. We just don't give it a lot of energy. We do a lot of remote viewing, but it isn't grounded in our beliefs to pay attention to that stuff. It just shows up as like, wow, hey, I was just thinking about you calling me, and all of a sudden you did. Now, it doesn't look like remote viewing, but in fact, it's remote connecting. It's complex, but as you begin to study energy, which is really, really useful, by the way, it's kind of like going through high school in order to become a cosmic being in a way. You get a lot of hands-on experience, a lot of visceral grounding experiences for you so that you can really trust yourself in every step of working through this strange science lab of the energy etheric worlds.
Julien, we only have like 2 minutes left. I want to thank you. You're spectacular. And I'd like to invite you to come back and share more. This went by so fast.
It did. Well, 1 hour's good. We'll talk again.
Okay. Well, thank you. Before you leave, I do have a few more minutes. Is there, like, a little thought that you can leave us with, something that was impending that you really wanted to mention on the show?
Not in particular.
What?
But I do want to say, if you do want to reach me, I'm easy to find on Facebook. And I do personal sessions in case you're interested in that. And that would be JW Sessions, /simplybook, /me. JW Sessions.simplybook.me, in case you wanted to get into some of the stuff more.
And you could do it on a personal level, which I think is really empowering. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And also you have YouTube videos, and your contact information is on there as well, right? Yep.
If you go to julienwells.com, there's a bunch of links there. Julien is spelled with an E, so it's JulienWells.com.
And then also on Facebook. Just really quick, what is your next engagement so people fall in love with you, they can follow you? Where did they go?
Oh, I don't know yet. We'll see. Mostly, add me on Facebook. There's my current events. That's kind of like my news feed of what's up. The fastest way.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing the show. And Julien Wells, just so you guys know, it's Julien, Wells, of course. And he's on YouTube, so you can watch more information on him. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and I'd love to have you back
Thanks
on.
for having me on. Yeah, we will do it again.
And tell the Pleiadians we all say hi and we love them.
They are definitely receiving that. They like getting attention, and on one level they know that really humans are the ones that deserve all the attention. So essentially they cheer us on for being here, for bringing the cosmic dramatic show to the ethers and to the outer spaces where they exist and can observe us.
Oh, thanks. That was beautiful. All right, we'll be in touch. You guys have a great day, great week, great life. Make the most of it. Julien told you, take responsibility because it's all you, whatever you want to experience. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening. These shows are designed to help you develop your truth. If you are not ready for it, or if it does not fit with you, leave it behind. Videos of the shows are available on Sam Mugzzi's channel on YouTube. If you would like a private consultation with Dr. Sam Mugzzi, you can find her on empoweringbetterhealth.com. Or for a private reading with one of our advanced psychics, check out predictmyfuture.com. Until then, see you next week. Be safe, have fun, and break some rules.